Continuing with rare French guitar picks. This is the Jura series, and these were all taken from France. All the Juras come from France. The person I bought them from knew little about them, except that they come from the area in France known as the Jura region. At the time I set my eyes on these, I had been collecting picks nearly 20 years and immediately knew I was looking at something distinct, rare, and special. A number of reasons for that. First of all, this series has 5 distinct shapes seen only with the Juras. And they are the large fish, right here, large shield, heart shape, small fish, and small shield shapes, only seen with the Juras, nowhere in the U.S., Germany, or Japan, which are, of course, our other main manufacturers of picks, going back into the vintage era. So I knew they were unique. The colors, the Harlequins, do you see at the top? The black streak over here, and the blue-silver streak variations here, and the checkered here. I had seen those celluloids absolutely nowhere before. Now, a number of these shapes are more familiar, such as these banjo, mandolin, and guitar shapes, but what's distinctly missing also here is the 351. The 351 came into common usage starting in the 30s and certainly by the 50s. So since there's no 351 for size comparison, I'm briefly going to put this 351 down there for size comparison. And as you could see right away, we have a pick on the right there, that large banjo pick that's larger than your average 351. And the same with the large fish shape. That's slightly longer than the 351, about the same height. So I'm going to remove that now and just go back to our series here. That was there for size reference. You could see some were larger, some were smaller. So another thing that is very unique about these picks is they're made of a composition of celluloid and rubber blend. And up until the time I had never heard of such a thing. I knew the Germans were making rubber, we were making celluloid, French were making celluloid, Germans making celluloid, and the Germans did become the masters of rubber picks. But the French also manufactured rubber in their early celluloid plants in the 1800s. So I don't see them anywhere thereafter, let's say, the 1930s. And I believe these picks to go back to the 1930s, in fact. Number one, for the reason I stated, lack of a 351 in the group. A lot of experimental shapes, but as we had seen 30 years later, 1901, 1912, the French were already had over 130 different pick shapes that they were using. Many of those shapes weren't shown in the catalog, and these could in fact be some of the missing shapes right here. These 5 could be some of the missing shapes that were not shown in the Lamy catalog. So unique celluloid rubber blend here, and until I discovered these, it was not known that celluloid rubber could be made into something as beautiful as these. I mean, if you take a look at this Harlequin here, when you turn it in the light, the panels flash a different intensity depending on the angle, and I think that's just amazing. The Harlequins themselves are huge in France, going back to the 11th century, and the word Harlequin is used in reference to the haughty demon characters that were often portrayed in French passion plays in the 1500s to 1700s. Picasso, between 1905 and the 1920s, painted over half a dozen different paintings featuring a Harlequin theme for clothing in his characters. So the Harlequin is a big idea in France. And as we know from the Renaissance onward, color was very important to the French. Trying new ideas to get a different visual impression was important. The black streak is also unique in that it flashes also. Can't see it too well here. Maybe if I move it down. But it has a nice streaking character to it, seen under better lighting. Let me try something here. There you go. You could see it a little better. Top view here. Now you could really see the flashing coming out in it. Little pan over here so you could see the Harlequins flash once again too. So, very distinct group here. All these are celluloid rubber blends. This checkered pattern here, also very unique. I've never seen it anywhere else. Really has a brilliant shine. None of these picks have been beveled. The other side is a matte finish, telling me that these were simply hand stamped. Another reason I know they were hand stamped is many of these banjo shapes are asymmetrical. And when those dies and punches are made for picks, they're made with even symmetry, but when they're punched out over time, the die wears unevenly because the person placing the punch down doesn't always do so perfectly flush. So it'll wear on one side more than the other side. 13 different shapes in this series, the Jura series here, and that could be seen with the Harlequins. I happen to have the most shapes in the Harlequins, 13 different shapes there. But a very, very, very interesting pick here. And and now after 25 years, I've still seen nothing like them. But going back to justification for why these picks probably go back to the 30s, and I'm going to show you this group. Now, I should have featured this group first because I believe they're actually the first ones that were produced. But the reason I didn't, and I'm going to try a different lighting here to see if we get more accurate color detection here. So bear with me. Is they look relatively boring compared to the ones we just saw, and I didn't want to turn you off on the Juras like it was a boring group. Many collectors feel that simply because something is a solid color and it doesn't have a name on it, that it's insignificant. I don't share that belief at all. Now, going back to this group here, one of the reasons I think it was the first group made, and one of two reasons, is we have these football shapes that we did not see in the others. And the football shape was goes back to the 1900s, used up through the 1920s, late 20s, early 30s. And some variation of that was seen in the U.S. and Germany, but none that were distinctly like footballs here. So it's a shape that was unique for that period of time. But another reason I think these came first is here we only find 2 of the 5 distinct shapes, and that's these shapes here. I have them organized this way so you can see I have 4 different colors of this. And these are beveled, though. So they did bevel these picks, even though I believe they are the oldest. Now, at the bottom here, I just have 2 variations on a white and another brown. So there's actually a burgundy, 3 different browns, a light, medium, and dark brown, and a dark blue color. See if that can't show up a little here. Here's the burgundy color. And I'm going to go over here and see if we can't get a truer picture of the blue. There's the blue right there. It looks black in the video, I know. So we have these very old shapes here. I'm guessing these are late 20s, maybe 30s. The one we just saw previous to that included the Harlequins. I definitely think these are pre-World War II. But as we're going to see through our other Juras, they seem to have spanned a period of time, probably 50 years. 50 years for the Juras. And the reasons for that will be explained in the other videos to come. We're going to be seeing different colors. As we pass through these, we'll see most of these shapes. But all the other Juras that are going to follow this are going to be different colors and some unique compositions. And they're quite artful as well. So don't discount the Juras. Keep an eye out for unique picks. Get to know your shapes. And the shapes are very important because they give you a clue immediately as to whether something's vintage or not. And if you don't know your shapes, well, you're missing a very important piece of information. And I will do a shapes series here when we proceed to D'Andrea in the not too distant future, because D'Andrea is a manufacturer that laid the groundwork for the greatest diversity of shapes that we'll see. But there we have the Juras, folks, and I'll give you one last shot of these, since they are so darn gorgeous. Maybe we could see them in a different highlight here with different lighting. Yeah, the Harlequin, significant to French history. And as we know, the French took art quite seriously. Now, what could I say about French picks from 1950 thereafter? Well, I could say that the picks in my collection largely are comprised of Juras, although there are other French picks that are vintage in the collection. We'll see those too. But the Juras are significant. I haven't seen them since. And I'm just very grateful that they are in the collection. Thanks for joining me. And we'll see you in the next video, also featuring Juras. Bye-bye.